There's been far, far, far more money made by people in Wall Street through salesmanship abilities than through investment abilities. Some years ago, I made a wager, and I promised to report before the lunch how the wager was coming out, namely that somebody could pick out 5 hedge funds, and I would take the unmanaged S&P index used by Vanguard Fund, and I would bet that over a 10-year period that the unmanaged index would beat these 5 funds that were managed by people who were charging incredible sums to people because of their supposed expertise. Now, bear in mind that the hedge fund, the fellow making the bet, was picking out funds where the manager on top was getting paid perhaps 0.5% a year, plus a cut of the profits, for merely picking out who he thought were the best managers underneath, who in turn were getting paid maybe 1.5% or 2%, plus a cut of the funds on profits. But certainly the guy at the top was incentivized to try and pick out great funds, and at the next level, those people were presumably incentivized too. And I hoped through making this bet to actually create a little example of that. But that offer was open to anybody. And I would make incidentally the same offer now, except being around in 10 years to collect gets a little more problematic as we go through life. But it seems so elementary. But I will guarantee you that no endowment fund, no public pension fund, no extremely rich person wants to sit in that part of the auditorium. They just can't believe that because they have billions of dollars to invest, that they can't go out and hire somebody who will do better than average. I hear from them all the time. So this group over here, supposedly sophisticated people, generally richer people, hire consultants, and no consultant in the world is going to tell you just buy an S&P index fund and sit for the next 50 years. You don't get to be a consultant that way. And you certainly don't get an annual fee that way. So the consultant's got every motivation in the world to tell you, this year I think we should concentrate more on international stocks, or this year this manager's particularly good on the short side. And so they come in and they talk for hours, and you pay them a large fee, and they always suggest something other than just sitting on your rear end and participating in American business without cost. It just demonstrates so dramatically. I've talked to huge pension funds, and I've taken them through the math, and when I leave, they go out and hire a bunch of consultants and pay them a lot of money. And it's just unbelievable. And the consultants always change the recommendations a little bit from year to year. They can't change them 100% because then it didn't look like they knew what they were doing the year before. So they tweak them from year to year, and they come in and they have lots of charts and PowerPoint presentations, and they recommend people who in turn are going to charge them a lot of money. And they say, well, you can only get the best talent by paying 2 and 20 or something of the sort. And the flow of money from the hyperactive to what I call the helpers is dramatic, while this group over here sits here and absolutely gets the record of American industry. So I hope you'll realize that for the population as a whole, American business has done wonderfully, and the net result of hiring professional management is a huge minus. It's so obvious, and yet all the commercial push is behind telling you that you've got to think about doing something today that's different than you did yesterday. You don't have to do that. You just have to sit back and let American industry do its job for you. Charlie, do you have anything to add to my sermon?
Well, you're talking to a bunch of people who have solved their problem by buying Berkshire Hathaway. That worked even better. And there have been a few of these managers
Sure.
who've actually succeeded. There are a few in the universities who are really good, but it's a tiny group of people. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack.